So I've talked about mobile gaming and how much it's exploded in the last few years even, and even longer than that, of course, because of smartphones. But mobile gaming has become a very common trend and use case for mobile smartphones now. And with the introduction of different format or form styles of phones now, like folding phones and flip phones, it even becomes a greater solution for gaming on the go, because you can have these larger screens now that fold and still have a mobile gaming controller with it. Well, in today's video, I'm going to talk about maybe a controller that finally beats the tried true winner that I've always said, which is the Backbone. I think there's a better controller out now in a lot of ways. So if you haven't figured out what controller I'm talking about the brand new Razer Kishi Ultra. And essentially what this is a portable controller that expands to fit multiple sized devices. It can even fit an iPad mini. And that is one of its benefits over a lot of the competitors, is how far it can stretch to be able to compensate for other devices like an iPad mini or another similar style sized USB-C tablet device. But of course, these devices are typically used for a mobile phone, and that's where this device shines, is in supporting both an iPhone, make sure it's an iPhone 15 only because it is only USB-C, and of course any modern Android devices. But where this device really shines, in my opinion, and most gaming controllers that are out now, are of course with folding phones, like the Z Fold and the OnePlus Open and the Pixel. So, what does this device offer over the competitors? Well, the biggest thing is the form factor is much more comfortable to a full-size controller. From the sticks to the buttons to the triggers are all about the same size of an Xbox controller buttons. The only difference is the width in the controller, of course, being wider than a normal controller. That is the only difference as far as form factor goes and comfortable feeling of a controller. Unlike other controllers like the Backbone, that in order to fit something this small and portable, links had to be taken to shrink the D-pad and the buttons, which is great. It is definitely a more portable option. So still consider, if you're all about the most portable option, the Backbone may still be your option to choose. But if there's other things that you may consider more important than just how small or portable the device is, like the buttons, the joysticks, the controls, the feedback even, then you really should consider the Kishi Ultra. There is one negative about it, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But otherwise, if you're looking for as close of a console-like experience in a controller, this is probably your best bet. Yes, it's bigger, but I feel that the controls are much more comfortable, and now after using this guy, I don't know if I can go back. And Razer does also a great job on the app side of things. Backbone has always been, I've stated, the best app experience compared to its competitors. The app overall just is so smooth, and the user interface is laid out very well like a console, where there are big tiles with easy access and menu options to navigate through different categories. Well, the Razer Kishi, or the Nexus particular is what the app is called, the Nexus app, actually does very similar situations in their app as well. The tiles are a little bit bigger, so I don't feel like there is much information that gets packed on the screen. That could be a negative to you, but they is still laid out similar to the Backbone, as well is a more common controller layout and full-size gaming controller experience. So from the controls itself, we have 2 trigger buttons on each side, so 4 in total for the shoulders. We have the 4 standard buttons by your right joystick. You have 2 joysticks. You even have two programmable buttons that they have placed up here instead than on the back of the controller, like some programmable buttons. I'm not sure how I feel about those. They're pretty small, but I don't use programmable buttons a lot, so maybe you do. It probably depends on your experience. But they do have them in a slightly different spot, but the D-pad itself is very tactile as well. The joysticks are not Hall sensitive. They are what Razer calls HyperSense joysticks. They are supposed to have limited drift as well, and you can even go into the settings and control the drift, fine-tune the control functions for the sticks. Myself, I haven't noticed any drift on these at all in my gaming experiences, from remote play to xCloud to even local games. I haven't noticed any controller drift. But some of the other features, with of course being a Razer controller, is of course we have to have RGB. And outlined around the edges of this controller are RGB that will light up when you use it with a mobile device. So of course, how is this getting powered? Well, it's actually getting powered by your mobile device, your smartphone, just like the other controllers are. So you'll fit it in the USB-C slot here, and then at that point, the controller will power on and it will be detected and will even launch the app as well, which is a benefit. So it makes it, again, feel like that console quality experience. Other features to this is of course a 3.5mm headphone jack and a USB pass-through power, so you can also charge your phone while also using the device too. These are pretty standard features at this point with these gaming controllers, but they are important to note as well. Some of your really small ones can't fit that in, so it's always good to see this in these bigger controllers. But one last feature that sets the Razer Kishi Ultra apart is functionality of this controller with a PC. It of course would have to be wired, but you could use this theoretically as a controller on your PC even. So if you don't have a controller for your PC, or maybe you have a laptop but you don't want to carry your controller around, but you are carrying this around for mobile game experiences, well, now you don't have to carry two controllers around. You could carry this one around just itself. So there's a lot to like about this controller, but of course, nothing's perfect. No device, no tech is perfect. But like any device, there are a couple negatives to this device, and one is not that big of a deal, but one may be a bigger deal for you. The bigger deal is the price. This is not cheap. It's not even in the $100 ballpark as the Backbone or even other competitors around $80. This one is $150. But of course it's Razer, so you're paying that Razer tax essentially. I mean, there are of course special features with this device, like the RGB chroma and even the haptic feedback that is utilized to your phone's speakers and simulates basically vibration motors. So Razer has done a good job to include special features that may be considerable to you for the reason for them being $150. The other minor thing is, since this controller is an officially licensed supported controller, you're still going to run into those having to perform key mappings on certain solutions or certain titles like Call of Duty Mobile or maybe PlayStation Remote Play. The key mapping, in my opinion, is probably the best that I have ever utilized on any of these controllers. It's very simple. You activate a key mapping that it detects that it needs virtual key mapping. You activate that on screen. You choose your control button, you drag it to the position on the screen, and you are done. And it works very good. I feel like the quality of the virtual controller after you set up the points or the mapping is very reliable. A lot of these times I don't feel like they are, but the key mapping works very well in my opinion, so I don't feel like it's a major fault to the controller. But I do want you to be aware that in case you want a controller that's just pick up and ready and you never have to do any key mapping, the only solution really out there that can suffice for that is, of course, the backbone or a dedicated first-party controller like Microsoft or PlayStation's controllers. Otherwise, if you're looking for one of these more truly mobile controllers that maybe is more of a universal or large form factor controller or more form fitting like a normal controller, you're likely going to have to do some of these key mappings. And in most situations, I have said I don't prefer doing that, and that's why I've gone with the backbone. But Razer really does a good job of utilizing this key mapping software in their app and really makes it pretty painless. You do it once for that game, it saves it based on that game within the Nexus app, and you're done. So those are my only negative things with this controller. Overall, I think it's a fantastic controller and is becoming my primary pick for a mobile controller. Yes, it's bigger than the backbone, but I put it in a backpack anyways. The only other thing I wish that Razer would make would be a first-party case for it. Hopefully they do that, or I'm sure some third party will make a case that I can put this in just to give it some extra protection so it doesn't get scratched up rubbing against other things in my backpack. But if you got a backpack you're carrying with you or some other bag or something, you probably have enough space to even fit this in. So if you have any questions about this device, let me know. I'm going to be keeping it. I'm going to be using it as my daily now for games. Most of the games I do on Android are Call of Duty Mobile, Call of Duty Warzone, and PlayStation Remote Play and xCloud. So a variety of different alternatives and solutions. Some, of course, again, pick up the controller natively without having to do key mappings. Most of it does, except for PlayStation Remote Play and Call of Duty Mobile. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.